The world's about to end in 30 days, and everyone's still arguing over TikTok trends. But while the rest of humanity is blissfully unaware, one guy is turning a monster-infested cave into a high-tech bunker. This isn't a game anymore, it's survival, and the strategy guide just became reality. Let's get into it. So, picture this, you're sitting at home, maybe grabbing a snack, and suddenly every single channel on TV flips to the same face. President Jang Won talk is on the screen, looking dead serious, and he starts off with a request that honestly sends a chill down your spine. He asks everyone, and I mean everyone, to call their friends, their family, their neighbors, and tell them to tune in right now. You can practically hear the shouting through the walls as the message spreads like wildfire. In less than 60 seconds, the viewership numbers aren't just climbing. They're exploding. The president thanks everyone for listening, but the pleasantries end there. He drops the hammer. A state of emergency and full-blown martial law, effective July 16th at 5 p.m. And the kicker? The military has already locked the place down. There's no planning phase here. It's already happened. He isn't even trying to sugarcoat it. He tells the nation he's doing this so they can at least have a dignified end. Yeah, those are the words you want to hear from a world leader, right? He confirms what the rumors were whispering. The exact scenario from that hardcore game Survival Life is actually happening in the real world. That massive asteroid from the game, it's real and it's coming. He reveals that the US military tried to pull a hero move and intercept it, but they failed. Completely. Instead of being destroyed, the asteroid slammed right into the ocean near Okinawa. The impact was basically a literal hellscape. A massive explosion followed by catastrophic damage that changed the map in an instant. But wait, it gets weirder. And much scarier. The president explains that the people in Japan aren't just dying. They're turning into zombies. Apparently, this asteroid was carrying spores, and those spores are turning the population into the walking dead. He calls it an unavoidable situation. No escape, no plan B. But there is a tiny glimmer of hope for some. He mentions that a few people have already started awakening special powers, and if you're one of the lucky ones, you're immune to the zombie spores. The government has built safe shelters, which sounds great until he mentions the catch. They won't be opening for another year. A whole year. In the meantime, they're going to drop info pamphlets and monster data from the sky like some kind of morbid confetti. To top it off, they're shutting down all the nuclear plants for safety. He ends the broadcast with a prayer for survival and a very specific thank you to the anonymous person who warned them about the exact date of the apocalypse. Across town, our main character just clicks the TV off. While the rest of the world is screaming, he's just ready. He's got his gear packed, his face set, and he says the words, "The moment has finally arrived." He's not just some random guy. He's the last player of that apocalyptic game Survival Life. And to understand why he's so calm while the world is ending, we have to go back a few months. Back in the virtual world of the game, things were chaotic. We see a group of 4 friends fighting for their lives against a literal sea of zombies. One player, Puriketsu, is panicking because they're about to lose for the 3rd time in a row. His teammate, Yujuame, who is unironically dressed in a bunny outfit, is yelling that they can't let that happen. Then you've got a 3rd player in a kitty suit just mocking them, saying they're all muscle and no brain, attacking without a single bit of strategy. A 4th member named Nora agrees with the kitty, though she admits the bunny and friend duo are actually pretty strong. They start bickering, and the kitty player offers them a 1-minute head start just to prove how much they suck. After another crushing defeat, the group sits around complaining. Puriketsu and the kitty player are basically taking bets on when the servers will finally shut down. Yuza Hammett is literally begging for something, anything, exciting to happen in his life. Right on cue, Norimaki spots something. A new message in the chat. A 5th player. A newbie. The group loses their minds with excitement. A 5th person to help. The new guy thanks them and heads off to finish the tutorial. 2 hours later, he's back, he's traumatized, and he's quitting. The tutorial was too hard. The kitty player loses it, kicking a zombie's head in frustration, screaming that the game is a total bust. One by one, the sparks go out. Yuza Hammett decides he's done. He's calling it a day, and not just for the night, but for good. The kitty player says his goodbyes, wishing him luck at his real-life job. RMC, sensing the vibe, gets that pit in his stomach. He asks if they'll be back tomorrow, and the answer is a heartbreaking maybe. Even the duo, Yuzaheim and Porisetsu, realize the journey is over. They log off, heading back to reality, leaving our hero standing alone in a digital wasteland. But he doesn't quit. He keeps playing. He streams to 0 viewers, hoping his friends might see it and come back. Months pass. The game gets a massive update that finally lowers the difficulty, but it also adds even crazier, enhanced monsters. Even with the changes, nobody comes back. He's the only soul left on the server. Eventually, even he hits his breaking point. He yells at the screen, calling it a trash game and swearing he's done. At that exact second, a system notification pops up. The service is ending in 1 week. A giant boss spawns right in front of him, and as an archer, he just feels this wave of sadness. He really wanted to take this thing down with his friends. That's it. He ends the recording, pulls off his VR headset, and starts deleting everything. 5,500 hours of gameplay gone. Well, almost. He keeps the hard drives with his memories, but for the first time in years, he decides to focus on being Taiga Tsukiyama. Fast forward 3 months. Taiga is living a totally different life. He's running a small snack shop/diner that he inherited from his parents. He lives upstairs, works downstairs, and honestly, the place is a hit. It's always packed with regulars and cheerful customers. It's peaceful. He's just a guy serving food, far away from the world of zombies and asteroids. Among his regulars is a beautiful hairstylist named Miki Kyuong. She's a local favorite and always brings a bit of energy into the shop. She catches Taiga during a rush, strikes up some casual conversation, and then turns her phone screen toward him. "Have you seen this yet?" she asks. And just like that, the real world Taiga was trying so hard to live in is about to collide with the trash game he spent 5,500 hours mastering. The vibe in the shop is usually pretty chill, but today Mikyong is scrolling through an online forum that's absolutely blowing up. She shows Sango a viral post about some magic word craze that's taken over the internet. It's one of those goofy trends where people shout a command phrase hoping for a miracle. Mikyong looks a little embarrassed, admitting she actually tried it earlier, shouting at the air like a crazy person, but, big surprise, nothing happened. Sango can't help but smirk. He tells her she's way too gullible and that there's 0 chance of some internet spell actually working in the real world. To really drive the point home and show her how ridiculous it is, he holds out his right hand. With a mocking, sarcastic tone, he drops the command phrase, fully expecting a good laugh to follow. But the laugh never comes. Instead, Sango freezes. A blinding, mysterious light hits him right in the face, and for a second, he's totally disoriented. Then the terror kicks in. A holographic screen, crisp, glowing, and very real, pops up right in the middle of his room. He's panting, his heart hammering against his ribs as he stares at the floating display. It's a skill panel. It lists his physical attributes and a special trait. And as he looks at the interface, a sick sense of familiarity washes over him. Clicks. This isn't just random magic. The UI is identical to the one from Survival Life, the game he wasted years of his life on. The only weird thing? The original game didn't really focus on these types of unique individual skills. Even though the activation text feels like something out of a cheesy teen novel, Sango decides he has to know for sure. He raises his hand again, this time with a bit more drama, and commands the spell to activate. The air in his dark room begins to warp and groan. Dense, swirling energy concentrates into a single point until a rectangular blue rift tears open. It looks exactly like an invasion gate. Sango is practically pulling his hair out now, his mind racing to find any other explanation. He's stammering, trying to deny what's right in front of him, but deep down he knows. He grabs his phone, his fingers shaking so hard he can barely type, and searches for any news about an asteroid. His blood runs cold when he finds a fresh article. The space agency has officially started monitoring a massive rock. And the name? It's the exact same one from the game. He tries to tell himself it's just a brutal coincidence. Maybe the scientists just liked the game? But as he squeezes his phone in his sweaty palm, the reality of the situation settles in like a lead weight. The end of the world isn't coming. It's basically on the front porch. He looks back at the rift, the magical light reflecting off his floor, and realizes he can't just sit here. According to the game's timeline, humanity has exactly 32 days left. He approaches the unstable surface of the rift, but stops just short of touching it. Going in empty-handed would be a death wish. He runs to the kitchen and grabs a metal soup ladle. Yeah, not exactly a legendary sword, but it'll have to do for a probe. He carefully pokes the handle through the white void to test the ground on the other side. When he pulls it back, it's covered in soft, fresh soil. Okay, so it's not a dungeon or a lava pit. It's an open area. He throws on a backpack with some basic supplies, takes a deep breath to steady his nerves, and steps through the boundary. The transition is instant. The stale air of his apartment is replaced by a burst of fresh, crisp oxygen. He's standing in a dense, brightly lit forest that looks more vibrant than anything on Earth. It's beautiful, but it's also freezing. He checks his phone, no signal. He's officially off the grid. To make sure he doesn't end up lost forever, he pulls out a marker and starts tagging the trees as he walks. It doesn't take long for the fatigue to hit. Taiga's been a cook for a while, not an athlete, and the uneven terrain is kicking his butt. He's leaning against a tree, gasping for air and wondering why this forest has to be so massive, when he notices a strange red glow behind him. A sharp snap of a branch sends him tumbling backward in pure terror. He's expecting a monster to jump out and end his journey right then and there. Instead, a majestic deer with glowing antlers steps into the light. A holographic tag floats above it, identifying exactly what it is. The beast just stares at him for a moment, total main character energy, before calmly turning and disappearing into the brush. Sango sits there on the damp grass, trying to stop his heart from leaping out of his chest. He's relieved it was friendly, but he's still trying to play the denial game. This specific creature wasn't in the game's database, so maybe, just maybe, this is all something else. He grips the knife at his waist, his survival instincts fighting with his common sense. He wants to believe he's wrong, that the world isn't ending, but the forest has one more piece of evidence for him. He finds a tree bearing fruit that the system identifies as a sun apple. It's golden and practically humming with energy. With trembling hands, he takes a bite. The second that sweetness hits his tongue, a notification box pops up. His physical stamina has been restored. It's a literal health item from the game. Not just any item either, it was a paid item. That's the final nail in the coffin. He lets out a dry, hollow laugh. There's no more room for doubt. If the items are real, the monsters are real. If the monsters are real, the asteroid is real. And if the asteroid is real, everyone he knows is already a ghost walking. He spots some monster droppings further down the path and finally hits the ground, clutching his head. He has to face it. The apocalypse is here, and he's the only one with the strategy guide. He makes it back to the safety of his room, his mind a total blur. He digs through his stuff and finds his old hard drives, plugging them in with a sense of desperation. He starts scrolling through his old amateur live streams, the ones no one watched, the ones he almost deleted. He realizes with a heavy heart that these cringy videos are now the only map to survival for the human race. The screen flickers with data about the asteroid's impact, a glowing reminder that the clock is ticking, and there's very little time left to prepare for the end. As his finger scrolls, the mouse will endlessly through his old gameplay archives. The memories start flooding back, and they aren't pretty. Survival life wasn't just a hard game. It was sadistic. He vividly remembers the iron ending, a cruel environmental penalty where a plague of rust dust would sweep through areas infested by zombie spores. It was like an aftershock that hit 5 hours after an outbreak, disintegrating buildings, weapons, and every piece of tech in its path. It basically reset civilization back to the Stone Age for 6 months to a year. But as Taiga stares at his screen, he realizes he has an ace up his sleeve. The private portal trait he awakened isn't just a door. It's a life raft. He hypothesizes that the rust plague won't be able to cross into his dimensional rift. It's a gamble, but it's the only one he's got. Without wasting another second, he drains his savings. Every cent he's earned from the diner is converted into survival gear, medical supplies, and non-perishables. While he's frantically organizing his gear, he glances at online forums and just shakes his head. People are out there posting memes, arguing about politics, and living their best lives, completely oblivious to the fact that the clock is ticking. The contrast is surreal. First thing in the morning, he's back at it, buying even more supplies. He even manages to score a hunting bow through a private sale. As he's walking back, weighed down by gear, a tiny voice in his head asks, "Am I losing my mind? Am I overreacting?" But he quickly shuts it down. Look, if the apocalypse doesn't happen, he just spends 2 or 3 years living off canned beans and working off the debt. It's a small price to pay for not being zombie bait. Back at the diner, he flips the closed sign on the door. He needs every minute to prep. Just as he's about to head upstairs, Mikyong appears out of nowhere, looking like she's seen a ghost. She's staring at the sign, panicked, asking if he's closing for good. Taiga plays it cool as a guy hoarding survival gear can be. He tells her the place is just old and needs a renovation. She looks relieved, even joking that he must have made a killing to afford a sudden remodel. He just brushes it off, eager to get away before she asks more questions. She starts to say something else, hesitates, and then just says it was nothing important. As he heads up the stairs, he feels a twinge of guilt. In any other life, he would have stayed to chat, maybe found out what she really wanted to say. But he knows what's coming. Engaging with the old world feels like a distraction he can't afford. He has to stay focused. He opens the portal again. Back in the game, Taiga was never the guy with the fastest reflexes or the highest strength stats. He was a tactician. In this world, you don't level up by hitting a button. You gain stats through the actual physical grind of hunting and exploring. He picks up the real bow for the first time, his heart racing. He's never shot a real arrow in his life. But when he pulls the string, it's surprisingly easy. It feels natural, like his body remembers movements his mind hasn't practiced yet. He visualizes a straw target as a goblin, steadies his stance, and lets it fly. Thwack, dead center. He actually laughs to himself. Was I an elf in a past life or something? Even though his accuracy is a fluke of latent talent, his hand is already starting to ache. He realizes he needs to go heavy on strength training if he's going to survive more than 5 minutes out there. He pushes deeper into the forest with 2 goals. Find out if his real-world body can actually kill a monster, and find a spot for a hidden base. He's not looking for a fight yet. He's still waiting for more of his orders to arrive. But his luck holds out as he finds even more of those golden sun apples. It's a veteran move. Always keep your eyes on the environment. Then he sees it. That same pile of goblin droppings from before. He analyzes it like a forensic scientist. Goblins are pack animals, so a single, isolated pile is a huge red flag. Looking at the seeds inside, he realizes this creature is malnourished. Likely an outcast. An old, lonely goblin? That's the perfect test subject. He tracks the trail toward the sound of running water as the sun begins to dip below the trees. Wolves are howling in the distance, but Taiga's focus is on the riverbank. There it is. A goblin looking exactly like the nightmare fuel from the game. The system window pops up. Low-class monster. Spear and poison dart user. He remembers how these things operate. They don't just kill you. They paralyze you and take their time. That's exactly why he's standing 30 yards away with a bow instead of a knife. The goblin looks old, unarmed, and completely unaware. Taiga takes a slow, steady breath, draws the string to his ear, and focuses. This is it. No more VR headsets, no more respawns. He releases the arrow. It cuts through the air with a sharp hiss and slams right into the goblin's shoulder. The monster lets out a high-pitched, guttural scream that echoes through the trees, and for the first time, the reality of the hunt hits Taiga. He's not playing anymore. Look, I'll be the first to admit it. Aiming for the head is a lot easier in a video game than it is when your hands are actually shaking. Sango's arrow misses the mark, and before he can even think about fumbling for a second shot, that wounded goblin is on him. There's no time for the bow anymore. He drops it, rips his survival knife from its sheath, and meets the creature's desperate lunge head-on. It's a brutal, messy clash of metal and grit. He swings with everything he's got, but the goblin is surprisingly quick, dodging the lethal blow. Sango doesn't let up, though. He lands a heavy strike that makes the monster groan, and honestly, the force of the impact vibrates all the way up his arm. This isn't a game. He can feel the resistance of the blade. With one final, adrenaline-fueled shove, he tackles the monster to the dirt, raises the knife, and ends it. He doesn't stop after the first hit, either. He keeps going until the screaming stops and the beast is nothing but a memory. Panting and covered in dirt, a laugh escapes his lungs when the system message pings. 2 points earned for the hunt. It's a pathetic reward for nearly dying, but it's a start. He heads toward the stream to wash off the grime and starts looting the goblin's meager belongings. He finds some guaca powder and vegetable oil, a classic combo from the game that makes a basic healing ointment. But he can't celebrate for long. Rule number 1 of the apocalypse: never leave a body out in the open. He starts digging a shallow grave to hide the corpse, hoping to avoid attracting a pack or, even worse, triggering the birth of a more powerful monster. As he's finishing up the dirty work, he glances at the water and sees these vibrant red trout swimming peacefully. His heart drops into his stomach. A memory from his veteran days flashes through his mind. This specific valley with these specific fish, it only belongs to one predator. He freezes, praying to whatever god is listening that his suspicion is wrong. But then, a massive, glowing red eye opens in the shadows behind him. The system confirms his death sentence. Owl bear. Sango just stares into the darkness, fully admitting to himself that he is completely, utterly screwed. With exactly 31 days left on the doomsday clock, his mind does that weird thing people say happens when you're about to die. It shows him his life flashing before his eyes. But instead of childhood memories, he's reliving an old live stream from a guy named Kimbupshula. In the video, the charismatic streamer is breaking down the forest's ecology, thanking fans for donations and joking with the chat. Kimbupshula explains that while goblins are annoying, the real run-enders are the werewolves and the owlbears. If an owlbear is in the area, it means the entire ecosystem is perfectly balanced and lethal. Sango remembers those days, the interaction with his loyal fans, even that one guy who kept changing his username just to get a shout-out. It was a wonderful era, but right now it's just a distraction. Back in the freezing reality of the forest, Sango tenses up. Why is he thinking about the good old days while a 2-ton monster is breathing down his neck? He realizes he needs a strategy, and he needs it 5 seconds ago. These beasts usually rip everything apart when they're hungry, but this one is just standing there, watching. That means it's already full. The only thing bothering it is that Sango is standing in its kitchen. This valley is its territory. He evaluates his options. He's got the mind of a veteran, sure, but his body is still just a guy who runs a snack shop. He's outmatched in every physical category. But then, he remembers the pro tips from the stream. An owlbear has incredible night vision, which is a massive advantage, until you turn it into a weakness. He plants his boots in the dirt, grips his knife in one hand and a high-powered flashlight in the other, and lets out a roar of provocation. The beast doesn't need a second invitation. It lunges, its killer instinct locked onto the small intruder. When a colossal claw comes down to turn him into a red smear, Sango throws himself into the dirt. He doesn't have magic, and he doesn't have an enchanted light spell, so he has to improvise. He rolls through the dark soil, narrowly escaping the impact, and repositions himself just as the creature turns its head to finish him off. Click. He hits the switch on the flashlight, blasting the maximum beam directly into those sensitive, dilated eyes. The owlbear lets out an agonizing roar of pain, blinded and disoriented by the artificial sun Sango just shoved in its face. It's not a victory yet, but it's the window he needs. With every ounce of strength left in his body, Sango keeps that flashlight beam steady, his arm shaking from the effort while his legs move on pure survival instinct. He doesn't look back. He just runs until the darkness of the forest swallows the sound of the bear's frustrated roars. The next thing he knows, a loud, Obnoxious ringing is piercing through his skull. He's not in a magical forest anymore. He's face down on his bed in the real world, the morning sun peeking through the blinds. His body feels like it's been run over by a freight train, every muscle screaming in protest. As he fumbles to turn off the alarm, showing a bright 8 a.m., the realization hits him. He must have passed out the literal second he stepped back through the portal. He mutters a curse under his breath, swearing he never wants to see another owl bear as long as he lives. That wasn't just a hunt. It was a near-death experience that pushed his sanity to the edge. Suddenly, his stomach lets out a roar that's almost as loud as the bear's. He hasn't eaten a single bite since yesterday afternoon. He tries to push himself up, but his legs are like jelly, and he ends up planting his face right back onto the hardwood floor with a pathetic thud. Frustration boils over as he realizes he can't even stand up. Dragging himself like a soldier in a trench, he reaches for his backpack and digs out one of those glowing sun apples. After just a few bites, that familiar floating notification pops up. He can feel the stamina surging back into his limbs, the magical energy repairing the damage from his reckless hike. Renewed and feeling a whole lot more human, he decides the next mission is simple. Actual food. Cut to the diner. Sango is sitting at one of his own tables, but he's not alone. Mickey is there, calmly enjoying a meal like it's just another Tuesday. She casually mentions that this place is her second favorite restaurant in the world, which would be sweet if Sango wasn't so confused about why she's crashed his closed shop. She just smiles, saying food always tastes better with company. Trying to play it cool, Sango steers the conversation toward the magic word topic from yesterday. Mickey lights up instantly. She's convinced the system is real, showing him news reports on her phone about digital currency vanishing into thin air. She looks at him with this mix of hope and intensity, asking if he's seen his own status window yet. Sango looks her right in the eye and lies through his teeth. He tells her he tried the command and, shocker, nothing happened. In his head, the logic is cold and calculated. His portal skill is a solo player's dream, but it's not built for teams. In a world where society is about to crumble, showing your hand is the fastest way to get exploited. He's not being mean, he's being a veteran. But Mickey's persistence starts to crumble into embarrassment. She lowers her gaze, her voice trailing off as she admits she actually lied about something important herself. Seeing her struggle, Sango's protective side kicks in. He gives her a small, genuine smile and tells her it's okay. She doesn't have to tell him anything right now. They still have 31 days after all. He tells her to share her secret only when she's ready. Once he sees her out, the peaceful shopkeeper act ends. The street in front of his house is piled high with cardboard boxes. His survival orders have arrived. He thanks the exhausted delivery driver and starts the grueling process of hauling everything to his roof. It's a mountain of gear: gas masks, fireproof suits, pepper spray, gasoline, and a sturdy metal pipe that feels a lot more reliable than a kitchen ladle. Equipped with his new arsenal, he takes a fearless leap back through the dimensional rift. He's not just exploring today, he's claiming territory. He remembers a suspicious rock formation he spotted while tracking the goblin, and sure enough, he finds it. A dark, secluded cave entrance. It's the perfect spot for a base. He pulls out his tactical spyglass and zooms in on the sandy floor at the entrance. Small, deep footprints. Kobolds. A relieved smile spreads across his face. Kobolds are easy pickings compared to owl bears. Better yet, they're nocturnal. Since they're likely sleeping deep inside, he decides to play dirty. He checks the wind direction perfect. He spends the next hour gathering firewood, a grueling task that leaves him sweating, but eventually, he has a massive pile right at the cave's mouth. He douses the dry wood in gasoline, ready to smoke those pests out with a lethal dose of carbon monoxide. But just as he's reaching for his lighter, a sound echoes from the tunnel. Two kobolds wander out of the shadows, blinking at the bright daylight. They stop dead in their tracks, staring at the massive barricade of wood and the human standing there with a gas can. Caught red-handed in the middle of an attempted arson, Sango just stands there. The silence is deafening. Finally, he drops a totally awkward, "Hey guys," to his mortal enemies. The awkward silence doesn't last long. Before the kobolds can even process why a human is standing in their front yard with a gas can, Sango lunges. He's not taking any chances this time. He flicks a handful of magic powder, the stuff he scavenged earlier, directly into the face of the first monster. A brilliant blue flash erupts, and the creature drops like a sack of potatoes. A system notification pings. Level 1 reached. He doesn't have time to wonder if that was a drowsiness effect from the game or just pure luck. He needs to finish the job. He tosses his lighter onto the gasoline-soaked wood. The fire roars to life instantly, and the wind does the rest, funneling thick, acrid smoke deep into the cave. Sango knows the meta. These low-level monsters have a massive vulnerability to environmental shifts. While he could just let the whole pack roast inside, he's thinking long-term. If he chars everything to a crisp, he's going to be spending weeks scrubbing burnt monster off his new living room walls. The plan is simple. Smoke them out, weaken them, and pick them off as they scramble for air. Sure enough, the kobolds start hacking and coughing, stumbling through the flames into the light. Sango pulls his tactical gas mask tight, his breathing heavy but steady. He counts the targets, only 3 are in any condition to fight. One of them, absolutely livid about being smoked like a ham, leaps at him with a desperate strike. Sango doesn't blink. He repels the charge with his axe and, in one fluid, devastating motion, slices the creature down. The second one charges, fueled by pure animal rage, but Sango is already reaching for his utility belt. He pulls a can of tactical pepper spray and gives the monster a face full of chemical heat. The kobold screams, clawing at its eyes, completely neutralized. That leaves one. The last monster is cowering, trembling in the dirt, and Sango just looks down at it with a cold, veteran gaze. "Goodbye," he mutters, and the axe falls. The cave is officially under new management. Once the adrenaline wears off, the fatigue hits him like a physical weight. He collapses onto a rock, his lungs burning and his muscles twitching. He checks his status screen and sighs. The exhaustion mechanics in this world are just as punishing as the game. But there's a silver lining. Leveling up just unlocked the system's special shop. He's thrilled, but that excitement dies the second he looks inside his new home. The cave is a disaster area. It's 15 meters of disgusting rubble, monster waste, and filth. If he wants to survive the apocalypse in style, he's got a lot of janitorial work ahead of him.